Welcome to Risk Profile with Mark and Harris. Mark has decided to bring a friend of his here. I
only have a couple of them, so
you only have a couple. I believe it. So Mark, who is your friend here?
Well, we're sitting down to talk with Lionberger, and I'm super excited about it because she's got a good story, and I can't wait to hear about it.
Can I hear that name again? What was that name?
Lionberger.
That's a pretty cool last name. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty cool. And on the website, I saw that you have this cool ass logo, got a line and everything. I like it. I think it looks cool.
Thank you. Yes, I figured using my last name because it is so unique as my logo and the name of the business that I started. I thought that why not? So I mean, a lot of what I've done has been in the marine world, and so many of the big diverse companies, they have large names like that. And so I thought there's so much we can do with this. It doesn't just have to be just me. It can go on and one day be a lot larger than just Lord Lionberger.
So what is this? What is this company? What is this?
So right now, well, I initially started out to, I was thinking about, I wanted to be an entrepreneur and start my own business somehow. So really it goes back several years of thinking about how can I branch out and do my own thing. And it's all about skill sets. What are my skill sets? Where do I really shine? And being in commercial roles for the past 12 to 15 years, that's my strong suit. So how do I monetize that? I created a consulting company to start. So I started doing sales coaching and consulting and outsourced business development. Those were pretty much my two things to start with.
So were you always in business, or how did you get here? Where did you go to college? Did you go?
Okay. Yeah. So I went to Baylor University, and business was not necessarily what I thought I was going to be doing. I actually thought I would be a plastic surgeon or dermatologist. So I went for their pre-med program. So, mom and dad are really happy after paying for Baylor education. And she goes into oil and gas like her stepdad. So, so that's where it started, was Baylor. I was pre-med, and I joke with my colleagues that I'm not an engineer, but I took all the same classes. I just don't have the engineering thing on the back of my name. But I got engaged after college. Baylor kids, I don't know if you know this, but everybody gets married right after school.
Same thing with Bryce, by the way.
Yeah. Really, yeah. Bryce? Yeah. So my husband now at the time was in law school and proposed. And so somebody needed to make some money because he was still in school. So I went into oil and gas because my whole family was in it. And I was given an opportunity to work in like a sales support position. And that's how I started.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting. So what was driving the feeling of I want to start something? Like, where did that come from?
I think it really comes down to my personality of I'm very, opinionated, outspoken. I say what I think. And so sometimes that can get you in trouble in some sense, especially growing up. But I've always been, I guess you'd say, I don't like to talk about myself very much, so it's difficult to say, but I'm a natural leader. Mm-hmm. So even in kindergarten, my mom would get notes home, how was your kid today? And it's like, well, she preferred to tell the whole class how to do their work instead of getting her work done. So
classic.
I mean,
that's a management skill. I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like,
Delegate.
She's very bossy, and it's like, well, okay, over time, it's like, wow, she has leadership skills, or, in elementary school, you learn typing, and instead of doing the typing lesson, I was creating rules to the club that I had created. So I got in trouble for, I was typing, but I was creating the outline for what the club would entail that people had to try out for in elementary school.
Love it. I love that we've already cracked the kindergarten box. And one of the shticks that we do here is that we ask you to come up with a foundational story, something that really you have had the opportunity to think back on that memory and really just kind of pull out maybe the direction that you've ended up going so far. So
yeah,
is it kindergarten that this happens, or does this happen sometime later?
I don't know. I think that's when I just that's just your natural, like, I guess, what is it? Ego and whatever, as a kid, you just kind of do what feels right and you just are. But as I got older, I started realizing that sometimes I would just see things that maybe other people didn't see and I didn't understand it. So when you're young, straight out of college, you're driven and you're like, oh, I'm going to go do all of these things. Well, a 22-year-old telling the company, we need to do this. And this is what everybody goes, okay, new kid on the block, go sit down, listen more than you talk. And then we'll listen to you in a few years. But really, I've been lucky in a sense that many of the businesses that I've worked for, I've had the opportunity to share my ideas or be able to show, hey, this may be a good pathway for us, or take on leadership positions. So I've been very fortunate in that regard. And I think that's what gave me the, I guess, reduced my risk of going out on my own, because I also thought, okay, well, if somebody is paying me full time to run their business or to be in charge of the entire commercial team, I can do this on my own, and if I'm closing millions of dollars for a company on, a yearly basis, just even a fraction of that in commission would be significantly more than my current salary. So I weighed it out logically that way to say, okay, now I've been in business long enough. I have relationships. Let me share a little bit about my experience with people that I think that I can help, or past clients, or just peers in the industry. And it was amazing because I didn't really have to do any sales to get my first clients. So I've now fully replaced my salary, and I've
congratulations.
Thank you. So that I was quite terrified about that, because we did just buy a house last year in the neighborhood, and it's like, okay, our kids are going to stay in this school, so I'm going to do whatever I can. It's going to work. This will work. So I, by building my client base, I've been able to do that. And it's been wonderful because also people have been reaching out. Hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with this other thing that's maybe not even in my wheelhouse? And I'm going from, instead of just consulting on this little piece or finding them, say, a storage facility, to I'm developing their strategy for them and becoming shareholders of these companies. It's a totally different conversation than what I ever thought. And so it's been wonderful, eye-opening. And I would have never known that before taking the leap. Yeah. So my business has really evolved from just, hey, I can do outsourced business development and sales coaching, to I'm kind of partnering up with different businesses and helping them grow. So really that's kind of my new slogan is I help businesses grow.
So
love it.
Yeah, that's badass.
Thank you.
So like what growing up, you were getting in trouble in kindergarten. You then didn't go to pre-med. You decided to go take this business route, and now you're starting your own company. Like, what did your parents think about all this, or like your grandparents, or like the people around you? Were they just like, this woman's crazy, or were they supportive?
I mean, yeah, my parents were very nervous. So
wow. Wow.
Yes.
Shout out, Mom. I won't say what I'm thinking.
Mom, don't worry. I know they're super supportive. I mean, my parents are probably my biggest fans behind my husband, and my kids. Even we taught the kids to tell each of us, go crush it today. Yeah. So then it kind of pumps you up because it starts your day on a good note.
Love it. And how old are your kids?
So I have she's just turned 7 last week, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Love it.
So
whoa, they're
little
already
kids,
crushing things. Look at that.
Little kids. Yeah. So, but I mean, honestly, with my parents, going back to that, I told them probably, I guess it was before I left a big corporate company, and I went out and took a risk and ran a company under the CEO on the commercial side. And I was trying to convince my dad to partner together. Mm-hmm. Let me come help you. I will take your business to the next level. Mm-hmm. And I mean, both of my parents looked like deer in headlights. Yeah. Like, how is that possible for you to do this? You know, because also your parents or people that you're friends with, they don't see you in your job and how you handle yourself and what you're really doing. And
They still see you as like 7 years old almost.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Go crush it.
Yeah. That's right. Go crush it. Have a great day.
Nice.
So yeah, but now I think they're just kind of in shocked and amazed, but it's been so awesome because now my dad and I can help each other on deals, and it's just been wonderful. And the freedom of owning your own business, oh my goodness. If you're thinking about it and you have the skill set, do it. Do it, do it, do it. If you're driven and you are doing all right now, take the risk and do it. That's what I would say.
So
what do you think, Mark?
Nice.
I mean, you've done this, right?
yeah. So I like elements of your story sound very similar to mine. But what I love about it is there are a lot of subtle nuances in your story. For instance, you take a traditionally safe career, doctor, and you pivot out of that and go into a career that's not only risky, but especially when you got into oil and gas. I don't know that oil and gas had the best reputation in terms of like, supporting and encouraging women in particular. And so you're going headlong into
an old industry dominated by
and so
Absolutely.
I'm like that side of me, because I came from oil and gas, a different part than you did, but I came from it. I always witnessed a very supportive environment for women in oil and gas, and we have this terrible reputation. So, it makes those, your success story there is encouraging, and you did your time. You worked like you were supposed to, and you got your skills and your experience, and then you stepped out and did something. Good for you. Well done.
Thank you.
What I like about it is the risk changing over time.
Yeah.
So like you said, she goes from pre-med, which is traditionally safe, to oil and gas, which is riskier, but she then amplified her risk even more by starting her own company.
Yeah.
However, during this whole time, it looks as though her risk has gone up significantly, but the whole time I feel like it's all calculated risk. It's not, your risk is not really going up because you thought about this beforehand.
Right.
You first went into this sales supports role knowing that this is what you want. And then after that, you'd already built this large social network to where now when you do start your own consulting company, you've already built the relations. You're good. So the risk is not, it's there on paper, but it's not really there.
Right. That's true. That's true. And as I was working for a really big corporation, very safe at the time.
Yeah.
At the time.
Safe job. And I had lots of experience. I was performing well, and this opportunity to go to this independent oil company on the downstream side, they came to me and kind of headhunted me away. So for me, that was probably one of the riskier moves that I made, was leaving big corporate oil to go to an independent. But it was giving me so much more in a sense of advancement for leadership, stepping out as a major leader, putting together global distribution agreements, and not to mention salary, right? Yeah. So, it was almost, it was significant increase. So at some of these larger oil companies, it's a lockstep program. So once you're in, you're at a pay scale grade, and maybe it's 3 to 5 years, and everybody's working longer. Nobody's retiring these days. So it's very hard to move up in ranks, even if you're a top performer, even if you're a diverse candidate, which I would technically classify for. I think I should in more cases because I have red hair, but
right. That's true. Yes.
But that doesn't count, I don't think. So when I left, I actually I wasn't so sure about that. And so I talked to my boss and boss's boss, is there anything y'all can do? I just have this offer. I just cannot turn it down if we don't, have a discussion here, because I loved where I was working. And so it went all the way up to like boss's 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 boss, to the president of the business unit.
Yeah.
And she actually reached out and gave me a call, and we talked for a little while. And one of the things that she said was, just don't burn any bridges and we'd be happy to have you back.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, okay, risk reduced.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, if I make this jump, I'm really not going to make everybody mad, but this is just what's best for my family and for my career. And it was an opportunity for leadership automatically instead of waiting for the next round of whatever was going to happen within the big corporate job. So, yeah.
So unpack if you can, one of those stories, one of those elements. Like, what was the key moment that you realized that you not only should become an entrepreneur, but really needed to be an entrepreneur? Was it something somebody said? Was it something you thought of randomly somewhere? But
yeah,
like, so
it's very personal. So my 2 children, one of them has special needs. So, oh gosh, you're getting me emotional now. I really needed to be there for my child and have the flexibility and the capability to just say, okay, you know what? If I can't get this done today, that's okay, because I need to go help my kid. And the teacher asked me to go on the field trip. So I'm going on the field trip. That's the most important thing to me. And so really it was a need of, I have this big job and I'm traveling 70% of the time, closing deals around the world. I mean, I was in Singapore, Germany, like everywhere, not just Houston or flying around the US. So it was this crux moment where I was missing Mother's Day. I was missing and leaving on a Saturday to go to Singapore so that I'd have enough time to be there before big meetings. And I thought, you know what? I'm good at this. And I love this, and I can do this again if I want to later on when maybe my kids are in college. But right now I need to own my schedule. I need to own all of this. Maybe I could do this once a quarter. But at this point in my career, I had built myself up to a leader that is even, I hate to go back to the pay thing, but the pay and my age don't coincide, right? So me even trying to interview for another job that's based in Houston, that's more local. I mean, we're talking president level, executive vice president level jobs that they look at you and go, are you kidding me? Yeah. You can look at me and see that I'm not over the age of 40. So it's, that's difficult. And so it was like, okay, well, let's see if I can do this thing on my own. Let's just try it.
Love it.
And so I just thought, you know what? If somebody else is paying me to do this job, a full-time salary, I can take my skills and monetize it. All I have to do is make almost my full salary and I'll be okay. And so I'm 9 months in now. I can say I've fully covered my salary and I have several ventures that I have fingertips in that I'm just hoping just take off. And so I'm working really hard on that too. Yeah. But it's so rewarding. And I love that I get to pick and choose where I put my time. So I'm so grateful for you guys even taking the time to invite me to do this. This is awesome, so this is so much fun. So thank you.
Well, we really liked your story. And one part that I really liked, and I saw this a little bit on your website, we talked about it. But it was about how entrepreneurship kind of runs in your family. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. So yeah, both of my grandfathers were entrepreneurs and had their own business. So my paternal grandfather, he started out as a kid, going and getting umbrellas when he knew it was going to rain at football games, and he'd be selling them to the people outside the football games. So, just coming up with a way to make a dollar. And then after World War II, he sold different metals and then it developed into marine cable business. So he had that LF Go Bearing Company in New Orleans for many years and did very well. And they sold the kids sold the business off after Hurricane Katrina. And then my mom's dad also, he has a very interesting background. He was working for NASA for many years, but he ended up leaving because I think he had a conversation with a friend about becoming an entrepreneur. And he started a framing business and investing in retail space. So, office malls. And so he started doing that and did custom framing. He did wholesale and retail. And he did that, and he did well on that. And when he passed away, my mom took it over and ran it. Actually, it wasn't doing very well when he passed away from cancer, but my mom actually went in, flipped it, turned it around, made a profit, and sold it to their largest competitor.
Wow.
So even my mom, you know, she stepped away from working for many years to raise my brother and I, but she has a business mind that's, in some ways I'm like, Mom, come let loose with me. She's great. So yeah.
So what did your grandfather do at NASA? What was the?
I don't remember. I just know that he had to put y'all have probably seen these old pictures of where the men put their hands in the rubber gloves to fix parts or do things. So, and that's actually what they think ended up causing cancer many years later.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was there when Von Braun was there. And I mean, it's pretty incredible. I have some awesome old books and brochures and drawings from back then that are now not classified. Like even some of them are stamped, like declassified in the date.
Yeah.
Oh,
pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what time year or what time period is this that he was at NASA?
I don't know.
I'm just so interested in this. Sorry.
I don't know.
So you when you first got into, all right, I'm going to start my own company. All right. Now I imagine you first convinced yourself. Maybe that's not true, but when was the first time you pitched it to somebody else, and what did that feel like?
Ooh.
That's a great question. So I actually pitched it before I had the intent of starting it.
Yeah.
And I just thought, let's see if I get any bites.
Yeah.
And so actually it was at OTC.
So a huge conference.
It's a huge
everybody,
offshore technology conference.
In January.
And so the one this year, because of 2020 was canceled, it's usually first week of May.
Yeah.
And so this was last year in May. And I actually went out and I was determined that I was going to start my own business. Maybe it was going to be on the side. Maybe I'd be helping my dad. I didn't quite know how it was going to work. But there was this lady, I went to a women's luncheon and I was walking out of the luncheon and this one lady looked lost, like she was definitely not oil and gas. And so I said, where are you headed next? What are you looking to, learn? What's your business? And so she was in batteries. She came from California and was in batteries and was trying to figure out, I don't know, how her company could break into oil and gas. And I said, well, I've been in the industry over 10 years. My dad and I have a business. I'd be happy to help you out with introductions anytime. I've worked in the industrial sector, like things like that. And I gave her my card and she goes, this is just amazing. Thank you so much. I would love to connect with you. And I thought, okay, I got this thing. And then I went and I pitched it a couple more times as I met people and they were like, all right. And other colleagues in the industry that I've talked to about, I'd love to go out on my own. One guy in particular, I sat next to him quite a bit at NOIA conferences, which is it's a National Oceans Industries Association. And he goes, you can do this. You can do this.
Yeah.
It's no problem. I knew when you walked in the room that you could do this. You could run a business.
Yeah.
It's no problem. And so I keep that in the back of my mind because even though you've stepped out and you're doing it, there are those moments when you're like, what am I doing? Should I be, should I be scrolling LinkedIn, looking at jobs that I should apply to as a backup, in case it doesn't work? And, no, you just keep telling yourself, okay, I've got this. I can do this.
In the process of pitching this, did anybody come to you and say, I don't know, Lauren, like, did you hit any of that kind of obstacle?
Not really, other than I think my parents being terrified.
But it's an entrepreneurial family.
It is. But
maybe that's why they were terrified. They were like, I know what this is going to be like.
This is brutal.
And I think also because as a family, we've been through so many hard times in a sense. So my husband's been laid off several times due to industry downturns or changing, strategy. And so I've really been the stable income. And so for our family, it's even more risky because I was the stable one, and my husband had just started at a 100% commission job doing insurance and financial planning. And so, I mean, he's probably 3 years in it now, but still, you know, getting solid on your feet. And here I am going, all right, I'm going to start my own thing too. I hope your job starts doing well, because if mine goes bust, we're completely bust. But he's been, you know, one of my biggest cheerleaders, and he's basically my only colleague that I have now. You know, I subcontract some things out, and but my day to day, if I get something exciting or something I really need to bounce off of him, I'll go pull him out of the garage where he's technically working right now with a team that he has, and so kind of his team has become my colleagues as well, because they all know they're like, yeah, Lauren, go get it. So
what does the future look like? I mean, what's the next risk?
I don't know. I think right now I'm in this mode of I need to keep everything that I have right now on an upward trajectory. So it's kind of like hold on and go.
Yeah.
I have some ideas, and I've talked one to you, Mark, that I know I could use your help with from your experience, that I just do not have the capacity to do, but I know it's in your wheelhouse. So that's probably one of the other ones. I don't know about risky. It's not risky because I have Mark to lean on. And he'll tell me the truth if it's a terrible idea. And then also I've outlined a few books.
Good.
Wow.
So I would love to write some books. And so this is where people are like, meh, because they go, oh, Lauren, you don't have enough experience to write books. And I'm like, well, I have some great stories. And especially even circling back to you saying, you know, women in the industry.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it is a very supportive industry. And I think everybody wants to believe that. And when you get into, you're given an opportunity, but that opportunity, you have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
Because there are always going to be those naysayers too in the business that have been around a long time that are going to say she only got that position because she's a woman.
Yeah.
Or, you know, or whatever it is.
Kind of like
that they
reverse affirmative action when that was still a thing kind of back then.
Exactly. And so I think sometimes for women, we feel like we have to put on this armor that you have to be like one of the guys. And so I think that has also made me more successful because of my capability to do that and connect with people no matter where you are on the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
Because you have to. And in sales, that's a critical piece of the puzzle because it's all about likability too. People buy from people they like and trust.
Yeah.
So can I count on this person?
Yeah.
And do I like them?
Yeah.
And if I have a problem, will they try to fix it for me? You know, so that's, I don't even know where your question started. I think I took it in a whole different way. I'm sorry about that.
That was a great answer.
Yeah.
So if somebody's listening to this and they really want to reach out to you, how do they get a hold of you?
So I have a website and it's lionbergercorp.com, and that's probably the best way to reach out to me. You can just fill in your information and it sends me an email. Yeah. And we'll go from there.
Well, Lauren, we really appreciate having you on this show with Darius and I. It was like, yeah, bravo. Well done.
Aw,
yeah.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to hear how things continue to go. But for those of you out listening to this, go be someone.
Go be someone. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you guys so much.
And last but not least, if you enjoyed this episode and other episodes by Risk Profile, please subscribe. We would really appreciate it. Thanks.